Hey everyone, Off the Mic Sports Network here, reacting to Ohio State winning 42-17 in the first round of the college football playoff over the Tennessee Volunteers. Going into this game was very interesting because if you stacked the four first round games in terms of intrigue, this was at the top of the list. It was the last one. ESPN's best commentary team, Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, were going to be there. Like, and it was an Ohio State game on ESPN, which was rare to see this year because of the new Big Ten contract. So this had the most intrigue, but then you add on top of it, Ohio State's coming off of a loss to their biggest rival in Michigan for the fourth consecutive year in a row. They hadn't played in 3 weeks. There's all this negative energy. Should they fire Ryan Day? I said it on this channel. Thank you to all those people who watched it. It's still until for God knows how long might be the most watched video in the history of this channel, because my God, the reaction and the divisive nature of this topic, whether it stretches to Columbus or all the way out here to Los Angeles, people really wanted to hear and interact about Ryan Day. And I will get to Ryan Day's perspective of this game. But first of all, what I want to say is Ohio State, of all the teams in the CFP that played this weekend, this was the most impressive performance of any team that played this weekend by far. It was Notre Dame. I thought they did really well. To me, Penn State, even though they won by a pretty significant margin over SMU, they didn't play their best game offensively. They got 2 pick sixes in that game. And SMU clearly was not ready to play. That's not a reflection of why they should be in the playoff. That's a bunch of garbage. So we need to stop that. The same thing we said with Indiana. I've said those on other videos here on this channel. But Ohio State, given everything that was going on in the last 3 weeks, they lose that game 13-10 to Michigan. The sky is falling. They're out of the Big Ten championship game. But hey, the Big Ten championship games happens. They get their spot in the playoff, and they're facing Tennessee. And then in the build-up to this, a couple things happen. Well, let's talk about what happened from a national perspective. From a national perspective, everywhere you looked, people were down on this Ohio State program. And it was really bizarre to watch because this team was ranked in the top 3 for most of this season, was considered a favorite to win the national title. They lose to Michigan, and everybody just is all of a sudden down on them. And to some degree, I can understand that because Michigan's not very good. But you kind of like, when you peel everything back, and I was doing this for myself for the last couple of weeks in the advance of preparing for this game, considering it's part of my job in covering college sports. But, you look at it and you're like, man, that Ohio State Michigan game was really an outlier for what this season is for the Buckeyes, because they did not play well. They did not play well offensively, and they seem to play scared. And it leads me to think Ryan Day has just got it's do you know the saying, 1 is an accident, 2 is a trend? Ryan Day, it is in his head at this point. The Wolverines, the color blue, whatever, maize and blue, the colors, everything is in his head. And that's the way he coached that game. He was scared. He didn't want to lose it. He knew what it would mean if he lost it, and he lost it because of it, because he played afraid. You look at that compared to this performance, and I know a lot of people were saying on this, where was this performance in the game against Michigan? It's different when you face your rival. So that game was an outlier for Ohio State, but in a weird way, and I give credit to my buddy Denton Day for pointing this out, in a weird way, that loss, if we look back on the season and Ohio State's hoisting up that trophy on January 20th and winning the first 12-team college playoff, we're going to look back at that Michigan game. A lot of people are going to be disgruntled about, hey, they won the national championship, but they didn't beat Michigan. I think that Michigan game and that loss, if it fuels them to a national championship, we're going to talk about how it focused and central and put this team really on a collision course and really reaching their fullest potential and making them more prepared. And being on their heels and playing with an edge, because they were just scared. They were just scared against their rival because they had lost to them 3 consecutive years. And Ryan Day knew he was in a no-win situation at that point, because it's like, okay, you have to win this game. Otherwise, it's going to be like the sky is falling. And that's what happened for 3 weeks. So given everything that transpired, over the national media, even in the local media, in the local market. My aunt an Ohio State alum, lives in the area. She was telling me that the energy around there, the buzz was just significantly down. There was a lot of Tennessee people in town. You saw it in the stadium, which was bizarre to see so much orange in the horseshoe for a home playoff game. Ohio State fans who bailed on that, you should be embarrassed, because I understand that the Michigan rivalry means a lot to those people. Still, it's a historic first time ever December home game in the horseshoe, first ever home college football playoff game for this historic university, and you missed out on it and let Tennessee take over your stadium. And then on top of it, Ohio State goes out there and absolutely bludgeons a really good Tennessee team that for some reason everybody thought was just going to walk in there and win the game. When historically Ohio State's done really good under Ryan Day after losses. And he's lost a lot of these things, like against Michigan. Yeah, they lost that game against Georgia a couple years back, but they were a field goal kick away from potentially playing and maybe winning a national title in Los Angeles a couple years ago, but they lost to Georgia, who eventually clobbered TCU in the championship game. So this was just so impressive from Ohio State on so many different levels, outgaining Tennessee by over 200 yards, passing for more than 200 yards more than Tennessee did, outgaining them rushing wise. And there was all this talk about Tennessee's defensive line, and they were going to be able to push around Ohio State. Ohio State pushed them around. Like, Ohio State looked like a heavyweight team that was just ready for a fist fight. They almost were going to go 3 and out early on this drive. They get aided by a face mask penalty, and from then on, this team just looked like they were on a mission, and they looked like they wanted to send a message to the rest of America and saying, hey, you might have forgotten about us from that game, but just so you know, we were one of the few great, really elite teams. We were supposed to be in this position, and now they've got a chance to go to the Rose Bowl to play Oregon in a crazy year of conference realignment, a traditional Big Ten Pac-12 matchup, which is just going to be a Big Ten matchup in the Rose Bowl on January 1st. So, but yeah, a testament, Will Howard, credit to him, 311 yards, 2 touchdowns. The one interception he threw wasn't really his fault. It should have been a pass interference. And it was a crazy Karam interception where a Tennessee player made a good play to get a foot down, to turn over the ball. And it's Tennessee, a lot of their points were either in garbage time or they were aided by a bunch of penalties and a bunch of missed calls at the end of the first half. So Ohio State dominated this game, and maybe I should have seen it coming. Maybe a lot of people should have seen it coming, but all along I thought Ohio State was going to win this game. They were at home, even if there were more Tennessee people there, or there were close to the same amount of Tennessee people as there were Ohio State people. This is still the horseshoe. It's still Columbus, Ohio. This is still one of the best teams in college football. And Tennessee, who I admit is good, but I don't think they were as good as everybody thought they were. And all you SEC hacks who were just running your mouths throughout Friday night into Saturday, that SMU and Indiana didn't belong. Where the hell were you during this game when Tennessee was getting clobbered 21-0? Hey, what are we doing? Ohio State, a lot of people missed the mark on this, and I think a lot of people misread the situation, including me. I'll take a little bit of accountability for it. I wanted to fire Ryan Day, but I have got to give him credit. This is one of the great coaching jobs get off of a loss that I've ever seen in all of my years of watching football, because it was so dark, it was so dreary, it was just as bad as I've seen it. To see a stadium filled with a bunch of orange from the rival team for a home playoff game, that tells you where the state of this program. People lost hope because they lost to Michigan. That's what matters, and that's the beauty of college football. These rivalry games mean something, but the beauty of this 12-team playoff is Ohio State has got a new lease on life, and they are able to focus now. They probably don't make it in the 4-team era, but because this expanded to 12 teams, they get a home game, they get a chance to reset themselves, and they sent a message to the rest of America that, hey, That Michigan game, yes, it sucks that we lost it. We understand it. We need to own it. We're going to move on, and we're going to take all of our energy and all of our effort and put everything that we have into this game against Tennessee to send a message to everyone else that, hey, we can go win a national title. And as far as I'm concerned, if they beat Oregon, I think they're going to win the national title. I think the winner of that game is going to hoist the national championship trophy on January 20th, 2025 in Atlanta. It's just like, this team was built for a reason. They've invested so much in NIL, and because one loss happened, because it was to an inferior opponent who happens to be your biggest rival, everybody thought the sky was falling. And so for Ryan Day, in 3 weeks, recalibrating and able to get this team to focus amidst really bad conditions. And as I said, I have family in Columbus who said, I've never seen the atmosphere around campus and around Columbus as bad as it was in the buildup to this game. For a home playoff game in one of the most iconic venues in sports, Tennessee people were just in waves of orange, and Ohio State ran them off the field. So, most impressive performance that I saw the entire weekend in the college football playoff. Ohio State looks like a team that could win a national title. It looks like a team that could beat Oregon. They could beat anybody at this point. And like I said, that Rose Bowl game, I think, is, you might as well call it the national title game. They may not win it, but I think those are the two best teams in college football. They played the best game of the year back in October. I think this is going to be an outstanding game. So, credit to Ryan Day. Forget about Ryan Day saving his job. We could stop this nonsense. Who was Ohio State going to go get? Who are they going to go get that was going to even remotely approach the success? Yes, Ryan Day's got to start winning some of these games, specifically against the team up north, Michigan. It has to happen. But for now, we can stop the firing talk. I own that, and I thought he should have been fired because of just the way he coached it. But then once you peel back some of the emotion of this, and I hope a lot of Ohio State fans do this as well, and also members of the media, peel this back and understand, guy's got a mental block that he's dealing with. Everywhere else, he's been outstanding. Everywhere else, he's been pretty much outstanding. We'll see how he does in this playoff. And I do think that winning Oregon will go a long way to defining his legacy and seeing if he can, right the ship and potentially win the title. But winning this game against Tennessee in the way that he did, I think has, silenced a lot of doubters, including me. So credit to you, Ryan Day. Congratulations. To me, that is as good of an accomplishment as you're going to have as a coach, given the demoralizing nature of that loss and then all of the negative buzz going into this. A lot of people picking the visiting team to beat you in your house, and you do it in that fashion, emphatically, widest margin of the weekend, which is stunning considering everybody thought this would be the closest game. So credit to Ryan Day. If he goes on and wins a national title, we're going to remember that Michigan game for a lot of different reasons. A lot of people are still going to be mad about it, but that might have woken this team up, and it might have woken Ryan Day up and realized, okay, let's see if we can, get this thing righted. And then you go correct that in another year. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, very exciting time if you're a Buckeye fan. Anyway, like, share, and subscribe. We'll have a lot of preview for that Ohio State-Oregon game. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be really exciting. And OT Mike Sports and Off the Mike 28 on Twitter. Follow me there. Hit the subscribe button below on this video so you can get other videos trying to, refresh a lot of content, a lot of stuff going on. And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.